Good evening, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to the kitchen at 849. Let me introduce our executive chef, Albert Gonzalez, who will take you through a virtual experience that you could have in your own kitchen.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Angel View cooking segment, which is tennis, love of tennis. So my name is Albert Gonzalez and this is Daniel Marquez.
Hello everybody.
And today we're going to be developing some hors d'oeuvres for, you have your cocktail party for your tennis tournament, little drinks before the game or after the game. And also we feature these hors d'oeuvres from our catering menu. So if you're interested in what we do as catering, just go to our website and you can find different pictures, different hors d'oeuvres, different things that we do. But the great thing is that today you get to actually make them or just archive them for yourselves and do it when you can. So thank you very much. So today we will be doing the pigs in a blanket, which are, as the recipe says, it's SRF. So it's Snake River Farm Wagyu Franks. These are very high quality Franks. They're very delicious. Once you taste it, you will see why it's, it costs what it costs. If you don't have access to this, you could get it at Jensen's, but if you don't, you could use Hebrew National, you could use Nathan's, but just make sure that it's a good quality. Some people like Oscar Mayer, Leighton.
You'd like them to be all beef?
It depends on what you like.
Okay.
It's a matter of preference. It's pastrami or, roast beef, whatever you'd like. But let's get started with these hors d'oeuvres. So what I'm going to do right now is take out the puff pastry, and we are going to make sure that it's not too soggy. So keep it in your freezer till you're ready to work with it. You don't want it to be, as you can see, it's very firm right now. I'm gonna work quickly. I hope you could keep up because I don't want the pastry to become soggy and then just really taffy to the point that I can't work with it. And of course, puff pastry is made with butter. You don't want the butter to melt. All right, we're gonna be doing 2. Thank you. And all you have to do, there's no precision, there's no anything technical. Just make sure that your frank is lined up a little bit to the edge over here. If you could show it over here, Leighton. Just a little bit. And then you're gonna cut on this edge from the puff pastry, just right at the seam of the frank. You could either roll it or you could just cut it all the way down. I choose to cut it because I have the practice, but if you don't feel comfortable with it, then just roll it, get a ruler, measure it, and we'll do the same for this one.
And puff pastry is easily accessible in the supermarket, right? Do you have any particular kind, thickness, or?
Not really, just use puff pastry and it works perfectly. Don't use phyllo dough, it's a little bit more crispy. There is a difference. This puffs up, there's layers. The phyllo is more thick, more crispy, and you get more of a crunch. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna grab the puff pastry and kind of bind it to the frank. All right, I'm gonna roll it and I'm gonna leave a little seam here so it could attach or glue with my yolk, just a little bit. All right, I'm cutting a little bit so it could just adhere to it. All right, that is one, and I'm sure you could see that here. And as you could see, I had a little bit left over from the other one. I didn't need the second piece. I mean, you could make a millefeuille with this other piece. You could make, whatever you want, cook it in the oven, throw some powdered sugar and cinnamon, and you have dessert. Just want to show you that seam there. Now I will take my brush and just use this yolk as the glue.
He's a fine artist right there.
Anybody could do this. You don't have to be a fine artist. You don't have to be a pastry chef. You don't have to be a chef. And I mean, the outcome is just so gratifying. And just roll it. All right. So it's already starting to get a little bit taffy, if you could see here. So I'm trying to work quickly as I can. If this gets too mushy, you could always put it in the refrigerator, in the freezer for about 15, 20 minutes, and it will firm up again. You could cut these, whatever length you want. You're gonna be serving them, and this is how I'm gonna cut mine. You could gauge it, you don't have to measure, again. And there you go. You want to compress it a little bit so it could adhere to the frank. The puff pastry can adhere to the frank. And now we're just gonna place some over here. Make sure that you set your oven at 400, 450, depending on your oven. Every oven is different. My kitchen oven in the restaurant, I set it to 400 because it's a very powerful oven with a strong fan. So temperatures might vary. Easy as that. Look at that. Can I get the ones in the fridge?
And that's the kind of a hot dog you get at the tennis stadium or some other elegant place, not your ballpark hot dog.
So this one I decided to put in the refrigerator for, a couple of 30 minutes. Because I know that Susan, Leighton, and the rest of the team are gonna be hungry. I made a little bit extra, especially Leighton, which is taking video right now, so you can't see him. Giggle, giggle. And you can see this one's a little bit more, it's tighter because the pastry has firmed up, so when you're rolling it, it keeps that shape of the frank within the puff pastry.
Hey, Leighton, is the yolk just egg yolk?
Yes, it's just egg yolk. You could grab 3 yolks, save the whites for a meringue, save the whites for a healthy frittata, omelet, whatever you'd like, but yeah, it's just yolks. Now you'll get this end here. What you want to do with that is just flip it over. And nobody would even notice. But Leighton.
Now that I know.
While we have a sec, we would like to just thank the Roost Lounge in Cathedral City for being our presenting sponsor for the second culinary experience. Thank you everyone at the Roost Lounge.
So make sure that when you're putting them on your cooking tray, your sheet, whatever you decide to cook them, make sure that they're at least 1.5 inches 2 inches apart because this is puff pastry and it does expand. It's not gonna expand a whole lot, but it will. So I'm gonna leave these in the refrigerator for a while, only because I wanna kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm gonna be cooling these down, and then I'm gonna be working with the mini beef Wellingtons. So I wanna throw those in the oven at the same time as I work through one of the other hors d'oeuvres. So here we're gonna do a little mini beef Wellington. You have your filet mignon, and look at that beauty. You could just see the marbled fat here inside the meat. And then we have our puff pastry again. You know, so if you went out to the store and you bought a box of puff pastry, you have multiple use for this. It's not just 1 hors d'oeuvre, you have 2 that you could cross-utilize that. And here we have the mustard that we are going to cover the steak with, the roasted mushrooms or the duxelle. And then over here we have a jamón serrano. The recipe calls for a prosciutto, but I wanted to do something different. This is a jamón serrano, and that's what we will be using for the mini beef Wellingtons. So what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna kind of give the steak a little bit of shape. You could use these for, I mean, whatever you'd like. You could cook them as you are cooking your Wellingtons and snack on them. Why would you want to throw away a good piece of meat? There we go. So now I want to cut, I would say about 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch from the steak. And then you cut that in half, and you cut these in thirds. Filet mignon you could get at your local meat market, Jensen's. You could get at, I mean, it's everywhere. So don't be scared of using some good quality meats here.
We had another quick question. How long is it to cook the pigs in the blanket?
The pigs in a blanket, it's going to be about 8 to 10 minutes. You're going to gauge it. Again, every oven it works differently. It gives different heat, but you want to check it at the 8th minute to make sure that it's not burning. You want to make sure that it's not undercooked either. If the pastry is still not puffed 100%, leave it in a little bit longer. It all depends up to you. How crispy you want it, how well you want it, the inside cooked. You don't want to leave it in there for too long because, again, you do have the frank and it's gonna just shrivel up. You don't want that either. It doesn't taste very good. And the same with the steak. You know, you don't want to overcook this. This is a great piece of meat. You want it juicy, you want it tender. So let's move on to the next step. I'm gonna take my filet mignon and I'm gonna add some Dijon mustard, a little bit of pepper, some kosher salt, and just mix this all together.
Kosher salt sounds very fancy.
Yes, it's kosher. So you could leave this overnight if you'd like, or you could do it the day of. It's up to you, depending on how much flavor you want to give it. That is entirely up to you. I'm gonna wash my hands.
And while we have a break, we'd like to thank and recognize our platinum sponsors for the second time, sponsoring again Hub International Insurance Services and Anthem, along with the McConnell Living Trust. Thank you so much, and welcome back.
Welcome back. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start layering my Wellington. So what a Wellington is basically a little pocket of pastry with meat and mushrooms and some prosciutto or jamon serrano, you know, in this instant. So I am going to do my jamon serrano. You don't want too much, tear it up, it's okay. You just want it to give it that nice flavor. Jamon serrano is a little bit on the salty side. So, I mean, it all depends on how much you want to add to it. And now we take this beautiful piece of beef. And you just pick it up and start kind of folding that pocket like an empanada. So this is how you would fold the empanada. And then you just grab the end and kind of flip it over and seal it. You don't want any of the juice to come out. You want everything to stay in there. And just give it a little round shape. These are super chic, super cute mini beef Wellingtons. Usually a Wellington is almost like a log, but here you have these beautiful little balls.
Little dumpling.
Yes, almost like a dumpling, yes. So just keep on doing that till you have finished your fillet. So you're looking at my puff pastry on how it's round. So I used one of these rings to cut, as you saw, the sheet of pastry that I had. Just cut it and start working. Again, puff pastry is a little bit temperamental. So once you cut it, put it in the refrigerator, let it cool. Your final product is gonna be a lot better because puff pastry does have butter, so you don't want that butter to start melting inside. Okay, fold your little empanada. Just crimp it up.
Albert, the meat that you're using instead of a prosciutto, is that available like at any deli, or is it's just a specialty?
A lot of the ingredients that we use here at 849 are very high quality ingredients. You will find them a lot in Bristol Farm. You'll find them at Jensen's, Pavilions. You might find them at other grocery stores, but you will definitely find all these ingredients at one of their counters there that I just mentioned. Again, last time I really made a shout out for Mary with Savory Spice. Again, I will do that because I really believe that she has one of the best spice stores in town. You would really be surprised here in the Valley what you could find. I recently did a segment for a different charity, and it involved a lot of Filipino items. It was a jackfruit crab cake with some palm hearts and a jackfruit, which is a very tropical fruit. And they had all those ingredients there at AJ's Market, which is a great market. If you're not into cooking, go in there, check it out. You will definitely be surprised. You'll see, I mean, just different produce that you didn't even think existed. Different sauces, different ingredients. It's over on Ramon, and it's a local shop, so why not? So let's get back to this beef Wellington, because I'm gonna run out of time. No. So here, if you're looking at this here, this is a different cut or a different fillet that I did. You could judge this up as much as you want. This has the mustard, the Dijon mustard, but it also has whole grain mustard. I decided to use that. So some of the Wellingtons will have that, and some of the Wellingtons will just be the Dijon mustard. And let's get back to this. So I'm gonna do some of these here. Let's start with our prosciutto. And just, you know, tear. It doesn't have to be fancy. What has to be fancy is the outcome.
As far as the pastries, what store-bought do you recommend?
Pepperidge Farm has great products for baking, for pastry, but if you don't have that, you have whatever your store sells, whatever your grocery store sells. I mean, take that. Beggars can't be choosers when it comes to puff pastry. If you really want to make your own, go ahead. You'll probably spend a whole day and can't even use it the same day. You have to wait for it to really cool down. So, I mean, it's kind of ambitious, but it's been done before. So, I mean, it's great, but you really want to focus on what you're doing with your hors d'oeuvres here, the presentation, and puff pastry is puff pastry.
But of all of them, you recommend Pepperidge Farms then?
Yeah, Pepperidge Farm, which is probably the one that they sell the most at the stores. That's what they keep there. All right. So now what I am gonna do is kind of glaze these with the yolk. Can I have the pigs in the blanket, please, Amy? And we will probably have a party after this with all this food. So go ahead and grab your yolk. You could do this if you want. If you don't, there's no problem. But this really gives it that nice golden brown color. All right, all the way around. And I'm just gonna do a couple of these. We don't want to take the whole segment.
So we're giving people luxurious dining options on their patio.
Yes.
After their tennis game, after their golf game. Come back and it's elegance on a plate.
Chinese, we do something like this. It's called bao, and we do use the egg yolks to put on the pastry.
It really does wonders. I mean, the color that you get from the yolk. Some people just use an egg wash, which is the whole egg with the egg whites, but I love to use just the yolk because it really browns it up. You will see it when I cook them. All right. So we're gonna cook these together along with the little Wellingtons. This could get messy. Here we go. So for the sake of time, I will only be doing these here for the to cook, and I will cook the others later. If you don't want to cook them all, let's say you have a lot of leftovers, you could definitely freeze these and save them for another party. It's puff pastry, it's Frank's, and I mean, you really can't go wrong with freezing that. Just make sure you don't have it in your freezer for a long time. All right, so now I'm gonna put it in my oven, which is at 450. And I'm gonna gauge it. I'm putting both of them in there, the Franks and then the beef Wellingtons. The pigs in a blanket are gonna take less time than the Wellington, only because there's more moisture within the tenderloin than there is with the pigs in a blanket. All right, so we are gonna start now with our seared ahi tuna. If you have any questions as to where you can get seared ahi tuna, they sell ahi tuna anywhere in your grocery store or at any grocery store. Again, Jensen's, Bristol Farm, Pavilions, you know, great options for tuna. We have our beautiful ahi tuna steak. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. So this is a great summer dish or summer hors d'oeuvre. We're gonna season it first. Some salt. Both sides. And then you want to do your pepper. I mean, you could be as generous as you want with your salt, with your pepper. It's a matter of taste. It's a matter of flavor. And I'm just waiting for my pan to really get hot. Your pan really has to be super hot when you're searing tuna. What you want to do with the tuna is just sear the top and the bottom. You don't want to overcook it because then you'll just have cooked tuna. You want the pink inside. And how you know is these little edges here will start turning white. All right, I'm gonna put some oil, and that is hot. All right. So just listen to this. And you can see that it's already turning white. But I want it a little bit darker, just a little bit darker. Don't use your hands. I am though. All right. And you could also touch the firmness to see how it's cooking. All right, we're gonna take this over here.
Wow, that was really quick.
Set it aside. You don't want to overcook it. You're just searing. Be careful that you do not overcook it. As you can see, you know, the white lines that I was talking about. I'm gonna actually put this in the refrigerator, let it cool down for a little bit, and then we'll cut the watermelon.
We'd like to thank our bronze sponsors. Again, Granite Construction, the Dry Snack Family, and David Erickson. Thank you so much.
All right, so let's get to this ahi watermelon. So what I'm gonna do first is just cut my watermelon in half.
Where did you get the inspiration to do ahi and watermelon? Because you don't hear that very often, combining those two.
Well, it's seared ahi tuna is served cold, and watermelon is really refreshing. So it's, you know, just a great combination. And then we're using the amber honey, which gives it a different level of sweetness. You have the sweet, you have the salty, you have the saltiness of the kosher salt, you have the freshness of the watermelon. So, I mean, it's just a great combination. You know, just grab your watermelon. As you saw, I cut the top, and that's gonna be my gauge to cut the rind. Now you want to take these off. With the ahi tuna, you could season with whatever you'd like. You could use a Cajun seasoning, which gives it more of a kick. You could use, I mean, sky's the limit. There we go. So now I'm gonna kind of fillet the watermelon. I would say about an inch all the way around. there you have it. Let's show off this beautiful watermelon here. I'm gonna grab my ahi tuna that is cooling off. I would highly suggest do the ahi tuna ahead of time. Let it cool down till it's really chilled, and then work with it. So this is already chilled. So I'm gonna put it on top of the watermelon. Actually, I'm gonna fillet the tuna first. You're gonna do it by half. And look at that. Beautiful. I'll take this, put it on top of the watermelon, and then just guide it against the edge of the seared ahi tuna so it could have that clean cut. And I'll do the same over here with this edge. And with this edge. Hold the tuna and your watermelon with your other hand so it won't move. All right. And you could cut these as big as you want. Danny, can you check the puff pastry, please? Good. Good. All right. So this little piece, I mean, it's not gonna work, so I'll just put it to the side. You could snack on it if you'd like. Don't press too much, because then the ahi starts moving. Just set it aside. Be careful you don't cut yourself. You do need a very sharp knife to do this. If you don't, then your tuna will just start kind of falling apart. As you could see, this has a lot of thread, and you don't want to be tugging on that. It's such a beautiful and expensive piece of meat that you don't want to waste it. All right. So now I am going to set these aside as I make the sauce for the ahi tuna. You could plate these however you want, but you just want the cut to be nice, look clean, professional. You could use toothpicks, you could use whatever you'd like to hold them, but we're fancy here at 849, so I'm going to use my little bamboo picks, which you could probably find at your local grocery stores. And look at that, I mean, it just really, really elevates it. Stubborn tuna wants to swim away. All right, I will set it in the fridge. I don't want the tuna to drop too much in temperature because that is no bueno. Okay, so I mean, I wish you were here to smell the Wagyu franks and the puff pastry. They're almost done. Again, I'm not used to working with this oven, so it's taking a little bit longer than usual. And these things are really puffing up.
Even more?
Yeah, so we're just gonna leave them a little bit longer. You want it to be crisp. You really want it to have that crunch. we're gonna continue with our sauce for the ahi tuna. So here I have my amber honey, which just put in a bowl. All right. A little bit of the wasabi. Not too much. If you like, then go ahead. Again, it's to your liking. And that spoon just slides in there. So now I am going to grab a lime. I'm gonna zest it. When you're zesting, you really don't want to go all the way inside to the rind. That's the bitter part. You don't want that. You want just that zest. You want the zest oil. But this is a really sharp one that you could really, it's really getting in there. Look at that. So now I'm going to take my lime, cut it in half, and use this to give it a little bit of that tang, that citrusiness. Now I'm just gonna mix this together. And as you can see, the wasabi doesn't want to dissolve, but we will make it. Look at that. That's going to be the sauce that's going to be on top of your ahi tuna. Put it in a little ramekin. And we will just drizzle this over the ahi tuna. We're just gonna put it here. What I wanna do is just towards the end, just garnish all the hors d'oeuvres and just show you how we do it here. All right, so next we have the bruleed strawberries. So I'm gonna start heating up my pan again because you really want it to be hot. It has to be sizzling. You want that sugar to really brulee on the strawberry. If you don't want to add sugar, just do it without the sugar and caramelize the sugar from the strawberries in the pan. So let me just turn this on. This one is so simple, really easy, but yet just so tasty. It's a great summer, great spring hors d'oeuvre, dessert, whatever you want to do, you know, it's great. So we'll put these aside right now. I just wanted to show them off to you.
Okay.
All right, so here we have the strawberries again. For this, you're gonna need cream cheese, your coconut cold pressed oil. So coconut pressed oil is a form of just the way it's pressed. It's done in a cold form where it's concentrated. So what you really get is almost this natural raw flavor of coconut. If you could be here and smell this, I mean, it just smells delicious. And we have, in the recipe it says chiffonade basil, but like I said, we're fancy, so we have this little micro basil that we use here at 849. If you don't have this, or if you can't get a hold of that, use your regular basil. I mean, that works beautifully as well. And then our strawberries.
Now we're in your wheelhouse now, Albert. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know pastry's your game.
Yes, well, I started, I mean, I didn't have anything to do with the kitchen. I used to work for Riverside County Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. I did that for about 9 years. I started working in the hospitality industry, I think it was 2011. I was working the front desk. I was introduced to the restaurant business, and I found myself kind of segueing more into the kitchen. When they would come over to find me or look for me at the front desk, they would just say, you know, he's in the kitchen. Go look for them. Go look for him in the kitchen. And I started doing pastries, and that was my first love, pastries in the kitchen. And that's what I started here at 849, doing pastries, developing the pastry menu. And this last year, I was given the opportunity, or the opportunity presented itself, where I have full reins of my kitchen. So I'm managing that kitchen. I really want to create a culture within the kitchen that is uplifting. One of my models is, if you don't have to be at 849, you will become. So that's one of the cultures that I really want to put out there. That's a little bit about me.
What's your favorite
My favorite what?
pastry?
My favorite pastry?
I think it's on the menu at 849.
No, it is. I wanted to create something before COVID happened. I wanted to create something for the summer. And I developed a carrot cake with a semi-Fredo. COVID hit, so I wasn't able to develop that. It doesn't travel well to go. So we introduced it, the first reopening that we had here at 849. And it's just been a hit. It's a layer of carrot cake on top with a filling of semi-Fredo, cream cheese semi-Fredo, and then another layer of carrot cake at the bottom with some chantilly, candied pecans on top, a drizzle of caramel, and some orange chips. It's so refreshing. People loved it so much that we kept it, through the winter. So that, I have to say, is my best, or my favorite pastry that I've done, and I think favorite to the public, to our customers. So, there you have it. We're gonna move on to the filling for the strawberries. So what I will do is take my cream cheese. Again, you could use as much as you want. The recipe says a cup. But since we don't have that many strawberries, I'm gonna use a little bit. I don't wanna waste a lot. And then I'm gonna add my cold pressed coconut oil. I'm gonna add some of the amber honey to give it a little bit of sweetness. Not too much. Remember, you are bruleeing the strawberries. And then just mix in. If you have a whisk, that works better, which I do. And if you're doing this in high quantities, you could use your hand mixer, your regular mixer, and it just starts to come together. Look at that. I'm going to put a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and just whisk, whisk, whisk. All right. And there you have the topping for your strawberries. We're going to set this aside. And now we're going to continue with these beautiful strawberries. Okay, so just cut them in half. Can you turn on the stove, Danny, please? You could eat these hot, you could eat these cold. Is it on high? All right. And now we are going to put our sugar. Just kind of create a little bed for your strawberries. Grab your strawberry and just kind of pat it. Look at that. Set it aside. And you could be creative with this. You could use brown sugar, you could use powdered sugar, you could infuse your sugar with lemon zest. Just like we did with the lime, zest it, put it in your sugar, and you will create some flavors that are just out of this world.
We'd just like to remind everyone that every ticket holder will receive a link from Angel View of all of Chef Albert's creations today. Leighton Ginn and Topics video will send you what we saw today so you can take out the pieces that you'd like to try at home. You'll also receive a special recipe from International Tennis Hall of Famer Rosie Casals and a couple of surprise cocktails. The signature cocktail at 849 and the signature cocktail at the Roost Lounge.
All right, so my pan is hot. Let's get over here and you will see what this does. I mean, you could hear it. And you could see the sugar start bruleeing, caramelizing. Press it a little bit. And you could smell the sugar just bruleeing, the scent of the strawberry. I mean, just coming out. It smells delicious. Look at that. It's already starting to brulee. All right, so these are done. We're gonna take them off the stove. Be careful that you don't burn your fingers. It is sugar, it is melted, and that really leaves a mark.
How often have you bruleed your fingers?
As you could see. We're gonna leave this one because it's pretty bruleed. I mean, again, it's a matter of preference. If you'd like this, go ahead and eat it. Why not? But just look at that. There you have it. So now what we will do, we'll take out all of our hors d'oeuvres. And look at the beautiful color from the Wellington. And here you have your pigs in a blanket, your ahi tuna, and we're gonna start garnishing. So your ahi tuna, you could garnish with a piece of cilantro, parsley, whatever you want. If you don't like cilantro that much, too much, you know, just grab one leaf. Use your pick. so on and so forth. You could grab your honey and just drizzle it over. That was a big drizzle. You could also use a squeeze bottle. You could also use your spoon. You're gonna give this one a little bit of love with the lemon zest.
Oh, wait,
Video.
there you go.
Okay.
So I mean, look at this goodness with the ahi tuna. Now your pig's in a blanket. All you have to do is grab some Dijon mustard, ketchup, whatever you'd like. We don't judge here. Grab your pig in a blanket, dunk it, and pop it in your mouth. I want to show you the beef Wellington, how it should look inside. You know, that's your little mini beef Wellington. And you could see the steam just coming out. All right, let me wash my hands. They got a little bit dirty with that beef Wellington. And now we're gonna garnish our strawberries.
All of this in under an hour. It can be done.
Yes. You could use a piping bag, you could use a spoon, you could use, I mean, your fingers. I mean, the crew is just gonna have a feast with all this, and I'm glad that it's not gonna go to waste.
It would never go to waste with us.
It didn't last time, why should it now? The last time we made the caprese salad
And the black garlic naan.
and the black garlic naan, and that did not go to waste.
Nor did the Coachella key lime pie.
Yes,
the Coachella
true.
lime pie, my mistake.
There you go. All right. Just, you know, give it a little bit more flavor, some kosher salt. Some more pepper.
Everything is so pretty.
Thank you. And here comes the grand finale, the amber honey. And there you have it. Your bruleed strawberries, your mini beef Wellingtons, your pigs in a blanket, and your watermelon seared ahi tuna. So thank you once again for allowing me to come into your kitchen and just show you this variety of hors d'oeuvres and what we do here at 849. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for supporting Angel View.
We'd like to bring in Shannon O'Connor, our Director of Development, who has one more raffle.
We have one more $50 gift card from 849. And the last lucky raffle winner is Peter Bodenberg.
Yay, Peter!
So, on behalf of Angel View, I would like to say thank you so much to 849. You guys have been amazing. We are so grateful for your friendship and partnership. We'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, the Roost Lounge, as well as our platinum sponsors, Hub, Anthem, and Mary McConnell. and our bronze sponsors, the Driesnack family, David Erickson, and Granite Construction. To all of you who purchased a ticket, thank you very much for being a part of this. Our cause, our mission is to support the Coachella Valley. For over 67 years we've been doing this, to support children and adults with disabilities have an optimal quality of life, and you have certainly helped provide that during this difficult time tonight through your sponsorships and through your donations. So thank you very much. We wish you a lovely evening, and tomorrow's the first day of spring, so just a season filled with hope and new beginnings to each of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Willie and John, and thank you, Albert and
You're
Daniel.
welcome. Thank you, Daniel.
Take another look at the food before we go.
Yeah.